Here.
Commissioner Decker.
Here.
Rebecca is saying she can't hear anything.
Commissioner,
She got it?
No, you just always forget all about me just because I'm on Zoom, but I'm here.
Commissioner Boer. I mean, Jesus, Wolf, Commissioner Wolf. What me to
Oh,
say?
yes, hello. Hi, I'm here.
I apologize.
That's okay.
We have a quorum. The first order of business is approval of the minutes for April 2025.
Oh, I would like to make a motion to amend the agenda and move, executive session to the next to last position, I guess, to the ninth position, and move resolutions to the last position, so that, while we go into executive session, we don't make, the public wait for us to finish that. So I'd like to make that motion.
And
Oh.
I'll second next motion.
We'll do a vote.
all in favor?
Alright.
Any opposed? The motion carries.
And I am going to make a motion to move Malco before the audit report, which is under old business. So John can drive back home.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? So the meeting agenda has been adjusted. Just for the record, it will now be approval of minutes, approval of accounts payable, Malco, the audit report by UOCPA, residents' comments, public comment, executive session, and then a resolution. Correct?
Correct.
So first order of business, approval of the minutes for April 2025.
Hope everybody had it.
I'll make a motion.
Commissioner Cousin makes a motion,
I'll second that.
seconded by Commissioner Smith. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed have the same right? The motion carries. Second order of business is accounts payable, approval of accounts payable, April 2025.
Motion.
Commissioner Galapos makes a motion,
I'll second.
seconded by Commissioner Cousins. Any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Have the same way. All right, the motion carries. At this time, we have Marco to speak, just to give us a recap on the planning board meeting and any of the updates.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. Just as a recap, and I know you have a full agenda, so I'll try to keep this short. The last time that we were before the full board, we had a preliminary plan, and I'll show this to everyone, as much as I can. I had a preliminary plan that had two phases. Basically, in phase one, we had building A and building B. They were rectangular buildings. And then in phase two, we had an L-shaped building. In phase one, we had about 155 units. We submitted that to the state for the state's review. The state had some questions about design, and also we're pressing on what we could do to redesign and drop the price of the buildings if we can. Construction costs, because the state will always push back on construction. So over the course of the last month, we went through a number of iterations, but just to give you an idea, think of this rectangular building, you're coming off the street into a parking lot behind here. So we have a new design, and a new layout, which does a couple of things. What we have here is the A building now has a little bump out, okay? It makes it a short L, and the same thing with building B over here. It's got an L here. So instead of coming right into the parking lot, this part of the building is cantilevered over, so you'll drive under the building to get in here. You lose a couple of spaces, but what this allows us to do, and before I told you we had about 155 units in phase one, this allows us to drop the buildings from 5 stories, which we had, to 4 stories. So we now have 4-story buildings here and here. These are the existing buildings. This is Bliss and Columbia Apartments. But we made a major revision by dropping the buildings to 4 stories. That does a couple of things. Obviously, it blends with the community better. And it also reduces the construction costs because by having that first floor, you have to have structural elements in it to support the 4 stories above it. But if you only do 4 stories, you can do the whole building in wood, which is less expensive. So we're probably gonna save over $1 million just by dropping it a floor. And we kept the same number of units. We actually now have a few more units. Between building A and B, we have about 160 units. Same unit distribution that we had before, percentage-wise. So that's a major change in the design. The other thing that we've done is
Yes.
the other thing that we've done, which we've been talking about with the board, is we've laid out the townhouse units. We actually can get, there are 3 lots that we're purchasing, okay, from the city. And we thought we could get 3 buildings on there. We can actually get 4 buildings. And we know that there's a need for 5-bedroom units. So we have two units that will be 5 bedrooms each. And then we have 2 units that will be a 2-bedroom unit and a 1-bedroom unit. Okay, so we're gonna wind up with 6 units here altogether. So between the buildings that we have in A and B and between the townhouses, we have about 166 units. So we went up in unit count a little bit. We went down in height, which will save on construction. We went to the planning board last week. Nick, thank you for coming. I know other board members were not able to get there. But we made a presentation and our attorney and I made a presentation to the planning board. I never want to put words in other people's mouths, but my interpretation was they were pleased that the height of the building had dropped without losing any units. The mayor was there, a couple of the city council people were there, and again, I think it was a very favorable response. So where we are with the planning board is we're having borings done over the course of the next week and a half. We should have them by the end of the month. And that will tell us exactly what's going on. We're concerned about the subsurface, particularly under building B, the longer building. Okay, there's some issues under building A as well. But once we have that, then we'll be able to focus in on how much it's going to cost to do the subsurface work. Okay, we have a pretty good idea of what from the ground up, you know, what it's going to cost to build. But the real costs, question marks are always in the ground. Okay, so once we have the borings, then we'll have a better idea. And that's going to take a month or 2 to do. But our goal with the planning board was to come back to them, not in the June meeting, but by July, we should be able to go back to the planning board with this design laid out with the issues that the planning board needs to look at. And I'll get to one of the key issues, but we'll have the site engineering and drainage and those types of things which come under the purview of the planning board. The one thing that was discussed, and interestingly enough, it was discussed at all the other plans that were being considered before ours, is parking. Okay, so parking, there is no parking requirement. A lot of communities have a parking requirement that you need to provide X number of spaces for each unit. There is not a parking requirement here. Or in other areas of the city as well. So we have a traffic and parking consultant who's looked at the existing parking spaces you have now, looked at the usage, and then looked at how many units we're going to be providing. We don't have that report yet, but we'll have it shortly. And he's indicated that we should, according to his analysis, we should be able to provide sufficient parking spaces on site for this plan. One of the things that the planning board talked about was they wanted to see a SEQA, which is a state environmental quality review. They want to see sort of the whole plan, like phase one, we're pretty locked in. Phase two, we think we can get 110 units in. So they want to review the whole thing and say, okay, if you're gonna build, 166 here and 110, what's the whole impact of the whole project and the number of parking spaces? So as I say, we think that we're gonna have enough parking spaces to support this. That's gonna be a function of planning board, quite frankly. And it's going to be a discussion back and forth, because I don't believe that they can require a particular number of spaces. But obviously, the housing authority wants enough parking spaces to park the building properly. And the house and the planning board is gonna want that as well. So we'll have that as part of our package that goes in probably the end of June to the planning board for the July meeting. And obviously, we'll get that to you before it goes into the planning board. But there'll be all the preliminary site engineering, the architecturals, and parking is gonna be a big part of the discussion when we get before the board. So that's sort of my whole report as to where we are, which is a major step forward. We haven't gone back to the state with this redesign yet. We want to see what the borings say. But I think that the state is gonna be happy, because we're gonna be able to reduce that construction cost by dropping the floor.
But they do have an idea of that.
They do have an idea. We've been
We've
talking
talked to them.
to the state. They just don't have the final, revised budgets, but they know what we're doing, and I think they like it. The trade-off, just so you know ahead of time, is the more parking that's provided. Okay, right now, we've kept as much of the open space in
In the courtyard area.
in the courtyard area. Okay, recall, this is the courtyard area. We're trying to keep this as much open space. We're gonna lose a little of that because we bumped out the building here, which is where the housing authority's offices are gonna be. So if the city requires more parking, then we're gonna have to juggle things around a little bit, and we may lose some of that space, which we don't wanna lose. So we'll go in, as I say, our traffic engineer feels we'll be fine, but that's an interpretation by the board.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So unless you have any other questions, I have one more comment. Okay, the reason I'm here without my sidekick tonight, is that you has taken a position back with the state. She came from the state, she worked there for 8 years, the State Housing Finance Agency. They wanted her back, and she's got a great position. She's actually gonna be in charge for preservation programs throughout the state of New York, which is a major position. It's something that she couldn't pass up. We didn't want her to pass it up. So she wanted me to give you her regards. Sorry she couldn't be here tonight. But she is, I think you guys know that she loved working with you guys, loved working with Jeff, and the city. And you're gonna see big things from her on the state level, I assure you.
Thank you. Yep. And we definitely appreciated you, and she really helped us get quite a ways, and her work ethic and dedication to the project was tremendous. And
Mhm.
the fact that she's still in HCR is
Yeah.
helpful.
Yeah.
While she may not be overseeing our project, she's aware of what we're doing, and hopefully can advocate for us if needed.
Yeah, she can't specifically work on them, but
Right.
she will have some good words to say, I'm sure.
Yeah. All right.
So I'm gonna leave you all. Thank you very much, as always, for your support. We'll get back to you by your June meeting. We'll give you an update, and things are going as well as they can go with the planning board. They couldn't have been more cooperative and supportive.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Are you breathing?
I'm listening.
I have a question for you, but
If the chair recognizes.
Absolutely, sure.
sounds great. Regarding the subsurface, in your planning, financial planning, do you have are you considering having a sufficient contingency for that, knowing what we know historically? So it doesn't become, this huge thing that shows up for
Yeah.
The housing.
That's a great question. The question is about contingency and the cost of this. That's why we're doing this now. We have a number now, but it really depends on what we find, okay,
Exactly.
when we do this, the borings, okay? There are a number of.
I think there might be a
we know that there are-
miscommunication, because I think you're talking about structural integrity of the geotechnical, right?
Yes.
And I think you're talking about potential contamination in
Yeah,
the soil.
There's contamination. I didn't realize about that, but I'm more interested or asking about the
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 structure.
soil and the ability, even though it's there's still potentially.
Yeah.
My understanding is you're doing this study will give you not only, or ideally, give you not only if there's contamination, but the quality of the soil.
Right.
To be able to ensure the integrity of the construction.
Yeah, thanks, Nick. Yeah,
Are we
you're
talking,
right.
are we now talking about the same?
No,
thing?
there,
Yep.
there are two things that we're looking at, okay?
Okay.
We know that there's contamination in the soil, okay? We know that's from some of the previous studies.
Right.
So that has to be removed, okay? And we have to build that into the budget. That's one thing. The structural integrity is, they say in construction, you can do anything with time and money, okay?
Right.
You can do anything with time and money. There are a number of different things that and we know that the soil is unstable. You can put in piles, okay? You can put in mat
Yes.
foundation. You can do a lot of different things. Once we get the reports back, then we can figure out what we need to do,
Right.
okay? And that will be built into the budget. Then on top of that, the state requires, and you guys want, and we want a contingency above and beyond, okay? What we think the construction costs are. Because even though we do even though we do testing and you have the engineers and everybody out there, until you get in there, you don't really know, okay? Something could always be a little different. So we're gonna get as much information as we can. We're gonna design what we need to do to support the building and make sure that it's good, and then we're gonna have a contingency on top of that.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, guys.
Thank
Thank
you.
Good night,
you.
everybody. Good night. Thanks.
Safe travels.
Safe travels.
Without further ado, we'll move on to the audit report presented by Pat Buell from Buell CPA PC. Mr. Buell, you have the floor.
Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have audit report copies in front of you? I take it? Okay.
Yes.
As you can see on pages 5 through 7, the actual opinion on the financials. The opinion is fine. Your financials are materially correct. There's a qualification on there for the going concern issue, which has been ongoing, based on your cash flow and not getting revenue from your closed off apartments. So that's been an ongoing issue, which still continues now. Page 8, the government auditing standards, there's no internal control deficiencies noted. Page 9, your major program opinion is fine, and there's no internal control or compliance issues. The tenant files look fine. You get to page, or is it here? Page 11, the balance sheet. That's where your issues come into play. I mean, that shows cash of $397,000, but $276,000 of that 397 is restricted by the voucher program. So that can't be used for ongoing expenses. So that only leaves you about $95,000 for operations after $26,800 in security deposits. Your current liabilities are $88,000 after taking out the security deposit liability. So basically that only leaves you about $7,000 in cash reserves from that point in time. From page 12, the authority had a loss of 111,000. 97,000 of that was depreciation, so it's non-cash. So basically your cash loss is around 14.5. So with all things being equal, you're kind of breaking even, which is a good thing, I guess, at this point. You're not going a lot further in the hole. Unrestricted net position, which is basically your retained earnings, that decreased another 47,000 this year to 564,000 negative. And that's back on the balance sheet page 11. I mean, as far as the housing authority's operations, you're doing fine. I mean, things look good. It's just a matter of your cash flow issues. I don't know if you have any questions on the audit report itself.
No, thank you. I just want to say that I use you guys all the time to show why we need new housing due to all the units that we have offline and to the money not coming in. So I always use you guys as a great example of what you guys have shown me these past 5 years. And yeah, I just appreciate everything you guys do and everything you guys taught me and taking my calls and my emails, teaching me things. So you guys have definitely been a part of this push for new housing. So thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions? Thank you very much, Mr. Buell. Thank you for coming on and thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
At this time, do we have any resident comments?
Yeah, so why are we building on contaminated ground?
We're
So,
built on contaminated grounds right now,
First
just
of
so
all,
you
yeah.
know that.
and
This is contaminated grounds that you're living on right now. It was built on contaminated grounds. And we're actually doing a much better job with the new building to make sure that it wasn't just something that was put over a dump years ago before they just put us over top of a dump. I don't know if you know the history, but yeah, we're living over
I
contaminated.
understand where we are now. So why are we continuing that?
So we're
So,
not continuing.
right,
They're
So-
removing all the contamination, which wasn't done very well when they built this, by the way,
right,
just so you know.
that's part of why this study is going on, why there's been machinery on site and they're doing borings to check and see what's going on. So they can determine, or it can be determined how what needs to be cleaned up and how much it's gonna cost. And there's also money that we can acquire for doing the cleanup. So we're gonna remove any contamination that's here. And so we won't be building back on contamination.
Right.
The state wouldn't allow it. Any other questions?
it's a good,
It's a good question.
It's a good question.
Yes, it was.
but that's part of the reason they're doing these next set of borings is to get as good of an understanding of as we can before construction of what's there, so that they can not only estimate the cost of construction, but what the scale of cleanup will be, because it has to happen. There's no way you can build now like they did 60 years ago on contamination. So it's a matter of how in-depth that cleanup is gonna have to be, essentially.
Right,
But they already know it's contaminated.
This whole area is all contaminated.
It's not unusual that it's not an unusual thing.
The dog park is on some sort of a refrigerator factory
Mhm.
area as well. It was not cleaned up.
Yeah, no.
Super fun
It
site.
was not clean, yeah.
I'm sorry, sir, you had a question?
So they've already done a phase one, are they gonna do a phase two ESA?
No,
I'm sorry, phase 2 for,
A phase two ESA, an environmental site?
Oh,
Secret, yeah.
well, we're working on that now. So they'll be here again this week. for about a week and a half, 2 weeks doing borings to check and see what's going on. So it's a full-fledged, investigation. It's not gonna be, short by any means. The planning board is requesting that information. The board wants it, I want it. We want to ensure, just for a concerned resident, just as we don't want to build back on contamination. Absolutely not. That's not the
Right.
point.
Uh-uh.
Any other questions? Yes, sir.
This might be broad, but I've missed a couple of meetings. How will the current Trump administration's changes to HUD and to funding all over the country possibly impact the project? I saw that the new HUD, the federal HUD guy had made some proposal, but I don't know if it was voted on, and I just have no idea how that trickles down to a project like this.
Well, what I'll say is it's good, right? It's-
No,
it's
because I was like, we just went to a training, so
conference. So
and they
we'll-
spoke on that.
And we'll
so.
probably have the same answer, but different ways, from different perspectives, but one of the things, first of all, is that the skinny budget that was presented is probably, every president makes a wish list, and it does not necessarily happen, but it signals, and there are gonna be some cuts, and so we're bracing ourselves for that. But right now, the funding is level, so for this year. Next year may be of concern, but right now we have level funding. The other thing is though, is that the state is fully committed. I actually asked that question before the election happened. And the state is fully committed, and I've gotten that from HCR, but the governor has actually demonstrated that as well. There have been some signals and some information that's come down. I can't remember it off the top of my head, where I think it's about 75 million that was recently pledged to housing. So that from that, which is what the federal government ultimately wants anyway, is to push the states to take action. So I think we're gonna be fine. We're in good shape. Yeah.
I read something similar that they want to push it to the states, and I also read the hopeful statement sort of saying we're gonna do what we can to try and keep projects
Yeah.
going. Just for my education, the funding for this project come from multiple years of either New York or federal funding, or is it, like what are the sources of funding, and how much is in year 1, year 2, year 3?
That I'm uncertain of, but there will absolutely be a capital stack. So it'll come, we will have funding from as many sources as possible, as many sources as necessary. The state typically provides gap funding. The good thing is that this year we are, and we weren't before, but we're in a qualified census tract, which gives us like a huge boost for our tax credit. So that is really good news. We weren't getting that before. That's another reason the gap was reduced so much. So for whatever reason, that changes from year to year. When it was checked by this year by our affordable housing consultant, he discovered that we are in fact in a QCT effective January 25. And that is amazing.
That's wild. I would have assumed that you were all along.
No, we as did we, but we weren't. So.
Is it all of Hudson?
No, not all of Hudson. It's just, if you Google it,
North block?
you can find the areas.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
I'm sorry.
I was wondering if it was just the north block, there's 2 block like tracks.
Oh, okay, well, we were short, like we literally were a block away, and they expanded the track, so which captured us. It actually captured Mill Street, but their project was already in the pipeline, so they couldn't take advantage of it.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
We have another question.
Oh, I'm sorry, sir, what's your name?
Oh, I'm Morgan Perez.
Mr. Morgan Perez. All right, I just want it for the record. Go ahead.
I wasn't sure if this was the right time for this question, but I wanted to ask what the total development cost is for the project, both divided between phase 1 and phase 2.
That's being worked on, but initially and this is an estimate because this is what it was. We're value engineering now so that we can reduce the cost, but initially it was a $220 million project.
And that's for both phases?
Yes.
And so 220 million for 166 units in phase 1 and then another 110 in phase 2.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. If there are not any more questions, we'll move to any questions from anyone online.
Sure.
Thank you for checking. It does not appear.
Look like it.
Is there, well, do we need to go on public comment again?
I think we were just in public comment.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Just to be clear, that was public comment. Does anybody have any other question? I don't want you to feel shut off, but we kind of,
Because we're gonna go into executive
we
session.
jumped
in a
ahead.
second.
Okay,
That didn't happen.
I pushed the resolution back.
thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Someone, can we have a motion?
Motion to go into executive session to discuss personnel issues.
Seconded.
Seconded by Commissioner Black. All those in favor?
Aye.
We will go into executive session. Thank you, everyone. Yep, hold on. Shaheem? He's already.
Yep,
working.
moving everybody into the waiting room now.
Thank you. And then do I have to move you or you move yourself?
I'm gonna make you host and then you'll move me.
Okay. I'll be
Perfect.
back. Let me just shut the door.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep, and then go ahead and move me. I left Rebecca and Nick in there. But yeah.
Thank you, Shah.
No, I didn't want to touch it. I was about to though, but then I was like, no.
Oh, one last thing. Be sure to stop the live stream.
Stop it now.
Yeah, before you begin talking.
Right. And how do I stop it, Shaheem? It should it?
You should see
Oh,
a
up where it says
little.
YouTube,
I'm sorry.
up top where it says YouTube.
Yeah, you just.
Yeah, wherever it